Alright, so let's start with the speaking practice. Speaking practice. 10 minutes speaking practice. Okay, so let's start it. You're saying you're gonna be your best. I would say you're gonna be your best. Is being 30% of the class good enough for you? No. If you want something, you're gonna get after it, and then you start producing good results, and you will build confidence along the way. Just cut up a chase. Here are 10 study techniques that I could share by us medical students help me get into the medicines and use this on the day and this basis. Half to focus on the actual study techniques and the other half focus on the studies mentality, which is just as important. Let's start with the first one. First, you gotta study from the studiable core materials artworks. Let's say the box represents all the information that presented to you and start in the middle is the set of material. Someone who doesn't know how to study will go from top to bottom covering every single detail, and then the exam comes, having covered like 20% to 70% of what's testable. Whereas some people who know how to study will start from the middle, study from the core materials, it's testable, and then you go study hours, and then exam time comes, another help us study everything. I study what is important and what is testable. I know that you want to be the best student as possible. I want to be the best doctor as possible. So when studying, we have the tendency to try to learn everything. The body will have to make this mindset shift from focusing on those long-term goals to short-term goals. And those short-term goals, taking courses, is to pass and get good grades in every midterm and every exam comes presented before you. Eating those long-term goals will take care of themselves. Studying what is testable or not, there's two ways of figuring that out. First is either look for practice tests or previous tests. Sometimes the predictors give you another couple of questions at the end of the lecture to go over on. Pay attention to those. They also looked online undergrad to figure out if there are any practice tests lying around and asked seniors if they have taken course and if they had any test material. I asked my friend who was taking the course, you know, you use to get out if there are any additional study materials that you can use in things like next time. And learners are going to over the material always to matching in your mind. How can I test it in multiple choice math? How can I test it in the short answer maths? And then along the way. Number two, unless please to very good notice not then plan out your nothing on all the midterms and all your exams, then you constantly reevaluate at your studying so that you're not falling behind. So for example, let's say you're taking 5 courses and before midterm you have to go over 10 lectures per course and then each lecture has 50 slides. That's totals up to 2500 slides that you have to go over before the midterm. So you have to write out a good concise note that summarizes everything that makes it manageable for you to go over material before you write the midterm so that you're not overloaded. Try to write notes as close as possible containing keywords and cut and important information. You know that if you don't remember something from your notes, you have pop slides you can always fall back on. Number three on the list is to use active recall when learning. I made a video on this recently that you can watch, but let me spend on that further here. Let me start off by giving you examples of students who don't know how to study. So when they presented with information like mitochondria is the powerhouse of a cell, what they do, what they're thinking, they just write, nothing coming to their brains. So what I do when I'm going over my notes is when I read information, I write all the keywords. And then I suppose to looking at my notes, look at the keyword. For example, what is mitochondria? And then I try to think mitochondria is a part of the powerhouse of a cell, what is but powerhouse of cell. Then I try to supplement information from the lecture's power of a cell because produce ATP. So I'm using all of my senses and writing down which is my tactical motion. I'm saying things out which is verbal. I'm looking at my nose. Previously I'm using my visual cues. I'm saying I'm listening to some cursor use my body. Senses and most often when you're actively recalling cannot remember all the information. And it's okay because studies have shown this is by attempting to recall, you are creating the connection between information and your memory. Number four, it cannot emphasize this enough. Reviewing is just as important as learning if new information. So if we have 20 lectures to go over before midterm for exams, for example 1 to 20 and then going back to 1 to 220, by the way, I want to go 1 to 5 and I review 1 to 5 quickly and then I move to 6 to 10. And when there's 6 to 10, even more quickly, I go over to 1 to 5 and then look 6 to 10 and then I go into 11 to 15. Obviously, you have to time to this correctly for midterm so that you possibly cover everything. Number five is more mentality thing. You have to study harder for your midterms than your final exams. You can obviously study hard for your final exam, but you have to study harder for your midterms because that's the turn for the entire courses. Let's say you get a bad mark on midterm, then the entire courses, it's just a catch-up game. Worrying the whole time, probably 2 3 months, worrying about whether you're going to be good enough final mark so that you can make up for getting bad mark on your midterm. Number six is having a strong mindset throughout the school year. I want to come across little harsh here, but they're saying you could try your best. I would say you could be the best. Is your best really the top 1% of your class? Is your best the 100% of your class? The program you take into in less than 10% acceptance rate. Is being top 20% of the class good enough for you? No. We want something you could okay result European confidence along the way. Number seven, a protein seven, which is kind of alternative protein in this video because this is a study technique video. But compared to someone who knows only study techniques but doesn't work hard, someone who doesn't know any business technique and then just putting the hours in studying and getting information into the brain, which almost means a bit a person with the study techniques. I wasn't the right person in my class, so when I was it was I just laid it out to everyone. To know that, I walked into the library before everyone else, and I walked out of the library after everyone else. I spent my time sitting on Friday night, Saturday night, and when everyone was going out partying, it was one of the students and was living in the library at the same time that time, and he now is a career surgery student at your school. So things happen. So you just have to outward everyone if you really want to be successful. By taking serious studies for a friend who wants to pass you. If you think it's gonna be hard to find them, they will. If you start studying late night salary all the time, you tend to come across these guys. It's hard to come early in the morning and leaving at night. I mean on weekends. I didn't cry. I had a group of friends who were studied with and we didn't really disrupt each other. We was constantly we didn't interrupt each other and when it was when the business was taken care of, we went out and have fun. Number nine, staying consistent and stay on top of everything, especially in medicine, where there's like million things going on. If you lose track of things, I get super stressed. I have to be on top of every email. I have to be on top of every assessment or the work I have to do. In the grade, you are dealing with five courses plus your extracurriculars and everything going on. So you have to really stay on top of things so that you don't feel you fall behind, get stressed. I'm giving you an example. Of course, the same why so important. We have to tonight. It should be, say today you're working Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, 2 hours each. Each work is as work on Friday. They will take Saturday and Sunday off. And the student B has fallen behind student A by 24 hours. So no matter how hard he tries, in the next one day studying 14 hours as opposed to 2 hours, student is studying 16 hours. That guy is always playing a catch up to student A, and when you're on a curve and it's university and a grade, you're just going to not be able to compete against student A. Number 10 is actually control your anxiety and your worry. And when you're going through school, there are two types of warriors. One is someone who does no study and worry about is not studying. Now, this is simple. You choose to study. Number two, you can start warriors is someone who worries is about having done all the studies. And when you're in a position, you need to write it out what you're worried about. So on note on an iPad or whatever they were worried about because you are not seeing what you're worried about. So the bar halfway in the middle, you write down what you can control and what you cannot control. And something like you can control is wake up early, going to the library, sitting for smart hours, and stay focused when you're studying. What you can control is the actual grades and beginning to get from the scores. So we're able going to be going to be was I minus I plus you know control that. So of course what you cannot control and just have to give up on what you cannot control. Alright, so I'm done my speaking stuff for today. Actually, it is 10 minutes speaking. So maybe I'm gonna move to the 30 minutes speaking that I set off. Okay, bye for this 10 minutes speaking.